Here are my top 3 favorite books I've read in 2022. Disclaimer, none of these books came out in 2022. I don't read new releases. I let somebody else waste their precious reading time figuring out if a new book sucks or not. Coming in at number 3 is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. This is a sci-fi book. It's quite short. I'm not usually a science fiction type of guy. It also bleeds on the edge of horror. This was adapted into a movie in 2018 by the same name, starring Natalie Portman. I did think the movie was very good, but as is often the case, the book was better, particularly the ending. Now, this is actually the first book in a trilogy, but you could read this as a standalone. I have not read the following 2 books, but I do own them. I've heard mixed reviews about them, but I'll probably get to them either way. But certainly entertaining at times. I felt my palms sweating while I was reading this. So if a book can give you that kind of visceral feeling, that's always a good thing. Number 2 on my list, and it should be no surprise because I just did a full-length video review of this book, is Last Boat Out of Shanghai by Helen. This book, unlike Annihilation, is quite long, just under 500 pages. If you are looking for a non-fiction that really scratches that storytelling itch, this is probably the book for you. It chronicles 4 individuals living in China just before Mao's Cultural Revolution in the 1940s. Politically significant page-turner that's easy to read, entertaining, and educates at the same time. This is a winner. Now, before we get to my favorite book of the year, I do want to give an honorable mention to Americanah by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I probably butchered your name. I'm so sorry. This was an unexpected gem for me. I picked this up just after reading Last Boat Out of Shanghai because I decided to do a book challenge reading 1 book from every country, and this was my pick for Nigeria. This came out in 2014. She's written a bunch of books. I've heard great reviews about all of it. I didn't know if I was going to connect with this book and its characters simply because I knew very little about the author. I knew very little about what the book was about. I have no experience with Nigerian authors or many African authors at all for that matter, but this was really good. I probably would have given it 5 stars if it were 100 pages shorter. It is just a touch under 600 pages, and while I never thought that it was getting boring or slogging on, I did think it could just be a little bit shorter, but I'm nitpicking. Overall, really good book, and I probably will read more from this author in the future. And last but not least, drum roll please, my favorite book that I read in 2022 is Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. This is considered a classic. It was released in, when was this released? 1955, so it is quite a bit old at this point. I found this book is very polarizing. People, when they saw I was reading it on Goodreads, a lot of people messaged me and said, I hate that book, or a lot of people said, I love that book, I should read it again. What I love about this book is its postmodernist style. I think Heller was probably one of the early authors to do this kind of absurdist style. It's completely irreverent when it comes to the military and its war exploits, and I know that theme won't be popular with a lot of people, but I just think it really hit the nail on the head with the absurdity of war and the awful things that human beings do to each other, and somehow made it a comedic read despite its heavy topic. If you aren't familiar, it's about a pilot who's fighting in the Italy region of World War II, and basically he's doing everything he can to get out of flying these extremely dangerous missions. Overall, I loved it. I've never heard anyone talk about anything else by Joseph Heller. I did grab a few of his other books when I was at a bookstore, but this one I can definitely recommend, but just be prepared, it might not be for everyone. So there you have it. Those are my top 3, or I guess 4 books that I read in 2022. Love to hear what your favorites were. Drop them below.